Okay, it's video. Yeah, I just want to record. I will stop the recording or pause. This okay. I'm not hearing the thing said recording, but going to gavel us into the meeting. Welcome everybody to the November 2022 Saguaro Astronomy Club meeting, and the last meeting of the year, unless we want to have a special meeting in December. It's not scheduled, but we can always have one if we had enough people interested. And we have some club business to take care of, and I was hoping that Paul Lind would show up, and if he's late, I think what we might do is allow our guest speaker to go first, just so he doesn't have to sit through the yeah, can you all hear out there in Zoom land?
Yes.
Okay, David nodding, and Rick, you can hear? Okay. Yeah. So I will turn this over to Travis. And Travis, would you pronounce your last name?
It's pronounced Dio.
Okay, I'm not getting any volume. That's the thing. What is, let's see, okay. Ah, there we go. Okay, now try it.
It's pronounced Dio.
Dio. Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
We were wondering, all of our members that were on Zoom were being especially quiet tonight. I don't know. Maybe,
Dale.
Dale.
Oh, not
Dale. Okay. So we're going to let you go first. Travis is one of the outreach people from the Sky Center for Mount Lemmon. And are you a current AU student or former?
So I graduated from the University of Arizona here in Tucson in 2015.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, you're an old hand then. Okay. I didn't know. I couldn't tell for sure since you were using the edu email. I think I thought it's through Mount Lemmon. Okay, it is associated with Arizona University. So I was like, well, maybe he's still a student. No, he could be a grad student. Well, he could be okay.
Yeah, the Mount Lemmon Sky Center is a nonprofit underneath Stewart Observatory, which is the Department of Astronomy in the College of Science at the University of Arizona.
In the house that Jack built. Yes.
Many layers deep.
Many layers deep. Okay. Well, Travis is going to talk to us and inform us of what all is going on in the world of Mount Lemmon and any ancillary thing that he wants to talk about. So I will turn it over to you, Travis. Thank you very much for volunteering to do this, and we will listen intently. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Now let's see if I can get my
See if you can take over the share.
Yeah. So does that work?
Yes.
We're here. You got it.
Here it is. All right. That's a yes. Sorry.
Yes, that is a yes.
All right, so I'm mostly going to be talking about just the Mount Lemmon Sky Center in particular, even though we do have multiple observatories on the top of Mount Lemmon, and what we here at the Mount Lemmon Sky Center do, kind of what our purpose is. So I think a good place to start would be if it decides to work, there you go, our mission statement. So to broaden engagement with the natural world around us by day and through the skies by night, through public outreach programs, and to cultivate the next generation of leaders in science through delivery of transformative educational experiences to diverse students of the Southwest. Now, this mission statement does encompass both the Mount Lemmon Sky Center and the Sky School, which I'll talk about just a little bit at the very end, but you're more than welcome to ask questions about it. And if anybody has questions throughout, I'm sure Zoom can do the hand raise thing, and then Thomas or someone else can scream at me and bring the question forward, because I probably will not be able to see it on the tiny little screen area.
Yes, our participants in the background use the Q&A if you would. Do the hand thing if you want. So yeah, we will try to pay attention to that, make sure that questions are asked and answered.
Perfect. I definitely enjoy the more Q&A than just babble for, however long. So by all means, ask as many questions. Now, our Sky Center programs, they kind of can be divided in 3 sections. So we have our standard kind of normal Sky Night programs, remote astrophotography, and our astronomer nights. Now, obviously, outside of that, we have the Mount Lemmon Sky Center Sky School, which is more of a direct education for K through 12 programs. But for the Sky Center in particular, these are our bread and butter, and more specifically is our Sky Night programs. Now, I'm sure by a show of hands, they'd be able to see how many, if anyone, has been to a Sky Center program, though that's obviously a little bit more challenging for Zoom. So our Sky Night programs, every Wednesday through Sunday, we offer 5-hour public programs where you drive up to the top of Mount Lemmon and you get to do a bunch of stuff. We start about 2 hours before sunset, go to 3 hours afterwards. And as you can see from the little list, we operate some solar telescopes. There's a dinner. You get to see sunset at the top of a 9,000-foot mountain. We do constellation tours. Sometimes we can even go through other observatories on the mountaintop to see what they're doing. And sometimes there's actually a person there who's able to talk to us. So like I said, during the day, we do some solar viewing. I think one of the best parts of our Sky Night program is, unlike many other groups where it's, you have a little 16-inch telescope and you just operate it for the night, we try to throw as many telescopes as physically possible at our observers. So this picture was actually taken a little while ago with just our little 4-inch solar refractor. We've since actually added a white filter telescope right next to it, kind of in dual mode. So even before it gets dark, we have everybody use a hydrogen alpha solar telescope on the sun, as well as a white filter telescope. And we have the little solar filters so we can give an idea of what you can see even with a little $5 piece of plastic. If you look directly behind this woman, the observatory directly behind her is actually not part of the Sky Center. It is part of the Catalina Mountain observatories, though. It's actually operated by South Korea. And unfortunately, we don't talk to them much, but it's always fun, especially while we're doing these public parts, that it just magically opens completely on its own because it's being operated from the other side of the planet. Obviously, we go and watch sunset. This is at one of the 2 locations that we do sunset, and you can actually see right here towards the bottom is Oro Valley, just kind of northwest, I guess it would be, from Tucson proper. And the sunsets up here are absolutely fantastic. During sunset, we generally try to give sets of binoculars out to all of our participants, not only so that they can use them later on at night to look at, nice open clusters and so forth, but also so that we can try to see the green rim or the green flash. Because we're at 9,000 feet and our horizons are really, really low, there's a very good chance that we see a green rim. In fact, most nights we get a green rim, unless there's cloud coverage. And of course, because it's a nice, beautiful sunset, we make sure to get everybody to have a picture with their friend group or family to observe. Now, obviously, the main reason that you would probably want to come to one of our Sky Night programs is the view through our telescopes. So these 2 images were taken here at the 32-inch Schulman telescope. That is our main telescope that we operate. However, we do have an additional telescope called the 24-inch Phillips telescope that we use mostly for Sky School or for really big programs where we actually have to split the group into 2 separate domes. And of course, we swap back and forth so everybody gets a chance. Mount Lemmon, even though it's right there next to Tucson within about 30 miles, we have some very, very dark skies. And these pictures were actually taken with a Google Pixel 6, just a cell phone, just sitting up, looking through. In fact, the picture on the left was taken inside of the telescope, just kind of resting on. And I'm particularly proud of that picture. But most of our program takes place during this nighttime portion, and we try to show as many different things as possible. You know, we don't just go, okay, here's a star, here's a star, here's a star, okay, we're done. You know, we want to show everybody an example of all the different things. We want, you know, a globular cluster, we want an open cluster. We can show you a planetary nebula, a stellar nursery, a supernova remnant. In fact, sometimes during our programs, because we have such a massive telescope to utilize with eyepieces, we're able to show some relatively dim comets or even sometimes a supernova. Last year, there was, I wish I could remember the name, but there was a supernova just bright enough during the program in the sky that we could observe. So for about a month or so, every single person that came to one of our Sky Night programs got to look at a supernova that will never be seen again. And those kinds of transient events are just super exciting to share with people, because you won't be able to see it ever again. It happens once and that's it. Now, before I go to the next little section, are there any interesting questions for Sky Nights or Sky Night programs? It is our bread and butter, the one that we do most days of the week, and is the main purpose of our Sky Center missions.
Yeah, I had a question on how much time do you all spend at these telescopes, or does a visitor spend at the telescope as far as?
So for our standard Sky Night program, you're up at the telescope for, I'm going to say, generally about 2 hours or so.
Oh, wow.
The program is 5 hours, about 2 hours is before sunset, so that we can give an explanation of the site, do our solar observing. We actually will use the telescope during the day to point at a star. So if you've never seen, say, Vega during the day, we actually do that as part of our program, at least this time of the year. And then once it gets dark enough after sunset, we go up and freeze our butts off together inside the telescope dome and just try to show you as many things as possible.
What's the cost of the program?
Yeah, there's a question, what is the cost of the program?
So the program is $85 per person. I don't quite remember the price for youths, but it's definitely less. I want to say 65, but I'm one of the main presenters. I don't do anything really in the office. But if somebody has our lovely website and wants to throw it in chat, that would be very helpful for everyone to click on. Unfortunately, you will not be able to join us this weekend, because I was literally told about an hour ago that our programs from now almost through to next Saturday almost completely booked, which is a great thing to have for us. But we're pretty full up, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that actually sounds encouraging that you all are at least having them. I know that one of your competitors, Kit Peak, they stopped theirs. I don't know whether due to the fires or what, but yes, I'm sure that down the pike, there are going to be a bunch of us show up there.
I would love to have you. I generally do the programs on Wednesday and Thursday. So if you come up and you're like, hey, it's that one guy who was on the Zoom call, really small.
The Deo guy. Yeah.
There you go. Yes, the Dio guy.
Okay, I'll let you continue.
Now, one of the ways that we describe our telescopes is that they are the largest publicly dedicated telescopes for public outreach in astronomy and remote astrophotography on the planet. And as far as I'm aware, that is still true. There are larger telescopes that sometimes are open to the public that you can look through if you get a big band of people together and go over there. But our telescopes were dedicated for this purpose. And notice that there was two things. There was the public outreach in astronomy, like these Sky Night programs, as well as remote astrophotography. And I can go back to that one. So remote astrophotography, our telescopes, primarily the 32-inch Schulman telescope, is actually purchasable to actually use remotely with our camera. So we have a very big, very sensitive camera that actually did not take the picture to the left. That was with our older camera. We are still getting fun data with the new one. But you can basically buy half a night with our telescope and then observe with it remotely and take all the data. We would send you all of it as raw frames, including all of your calibration frames, and you'd be able to make some absolutely stunning images. You know, this 32-inch telescope and the exact same field of view is the one used by Adam Block, who operated the Sky Center for quite a while. So there's at least, I want to say, 60 or 70 astronomy pictures of the day that were taken through the Schulman 32-inch telescope. Our new camera does have not just LRGB, but also some narrowband filters so that you can even utilize the telescope during full moon nights. And those pricings actually fluctuate. So if it's did I say new moon? I meant full moon. So sorry. So on a new moon night, it's about $400 for half a night. And that's a half night, whether it's summer or winter. So if you're doing winter, you actually get a little bit more time because the nights are longer. And then depending on what the moon phase is, it actually can go down to a full moon price, which is about $120 for a half night. And so being able to utilize a 32-inch telescope for 4 to 6 hours with a hydrogen alpha filter is, I think, a pretty darn good deal. So here on the left is a very fast rendition of kind of what you would see on your end, because our telescope is operated completely through the ACP software suite. So you can actually go through a web interface. We would send you a login and credentials, and you would just log on like you were logging on to Facebook, only you're using your laptop to operate a telescope on top of Mount Lemmon. The image on the right is actually a picture that I took through the Schulman about 2 or 3 years ago. And this is 15 hours of data through the telescope to give you an idea of what it's capable of. And never, yeah. Any questions about remote astrophotography? I know I'm going a little fast and kind of covering a lot of information.
Well, I had a question regarding that. Is it auto stacking as you're going? So if you wanted to do visual as well as acquiring a lot of data for manipulation later on, does it auto stack so you can see kind of what you're seeing in the raw, or is it mostly you're pulling up the data and you're getting maybe just a glimpse of what the target is?
Yeah, so you can actually see from the image, I don't remember which nebula or a galaxy this is, but you can see that glow in that little preview window. But that's just displaying just a stretched raw frame from the camera. So it doesn't do any dynamic auto stacking. Our remote astrophotography is primarily for our astrophotographer friends and colleagues that really want to take some really, really fantastic pictures and take the time in after taking the images to process it into a really fantastic image. Now, I don't have it in this slideshow, but we do also offer, trying to remember the name that we gave it, but basically remote star parties. So this would be about an hour or an hour and a half after sunset. And instead of you logging on to a website like this and taking the raw frames and then hopefully knowing how to process it through PixInsight and Photoshop or whatever, we would actually have you log into a Zoom call just like this, and then use the telescope directly. And with that, we're able to kind of dynamically stack images as we're looking at a given object. And our camera is also very, very sensitive. So even over the course of 30 seconds, you can see that dim galaxy in the field of view, and we can zoom in and pretty much point the telescope at whatever is available.
What is the camera again?
It's the SBIG AC 4040 BSI. So that's the back illuminated version. It's very similar to the 16803, also from SBIG or from other companies, but instead of a CCD, it's a CMOS camera. So it actually reads out so much faster. It's incredible.
Okay, any questions from the participants in the Zoom field? Okay, well, Travis, I will allow you to continue then.
Okay, thank you very much. The last big thing that we have would be our astronomer nights. So if you like the photography, or you like the visual observing, but you just don't feel like either half a night remotely from where you live, or just a 2.5 hours with a whole bunch of people in the room is too much, you can do one of our astrophotographer or astronomer nights, where after the normal public program is done, which you are also welcome to be a part of, the telescope basically becomes yours, and me or one of our other presenters is your lackey for the rest of the night. And so you get to utilize it however you'd like. Here in the picture, you can actually see a mother and her daughter, where the daughter was just about to go into astronomy. Really tried to push her into the U of A, but I don't think it quite worked. But they brought their DSLR up, and we have some adapters. So that is I think it was a Canon 6 Rebel hooked up to a f7 5720 millimeter lens, aka the 32-inch Schulman telescope.
Wow.
And so a very telephoto, but it's a little bit slow, so not very good for sports. That's what I would not recommend it for sports. But like it's saying, whether you want to observe the entire night with just your eyes, which we've done, and just try to see as many things as possible through our massive telescope, or you want to put on your own camera and take pictures of, Jupiter all night or something, or if you want to utilize our camera, and because you basically have the whole night, we can actually process the data as it comes in, share tips and tricks and that sort of thing. There's sleeping accommodations on the mountain itself, and there's of course Wi-Fi. So if you decide, okay, it's too cold outside, I just need to go inside and connect remotely, or watch Netflix, you can also do so. I think my next slide, there's what our Milky Way looks like. This was actually during one of our astronomer nights, and you can see all the telescopes. The one on the very far right is part of the Catalina Sky Survey. But our skies are quite incredible on the mountain, even though you can see the glow of Tucson from down below. Now, if you're utilizing our telescope either for public program or a astronomer night program, you can really get an idea of the difference between just taking a picture and trying to really process it. So this is an example of the difference in those. So on the left-hand side, that was actually a picture taken through the 32-inch telescope with my same Google Pixel, though iPhones do just as well. And on the right is taking a separate camera, not our big fancy astrophotography camera, but actually a planetary camera, which we also have and can utilize during astronomer nights, and actually taking the time to take several minutes of data and actually process it through. And if I recall correctly, these are from the same nights, but don't quote me on that. But just a huge difference between how much you can get visually to what you can get if you have the time and patience to process it. And we can do that during those astronomer nights because it's just me and I think it's up to a group of 4 for our astronomer nights.
So, and you all kind of talk us through, say, if we're fledgling. I do DSLR shots because my vision isn't as good as it used to be. So I like to pull in that extra light to look at some of the small fuzzy things.
Yeah.
But you would then help us say, okay, if you wanted to try to stack a few, here's how you do the process, or do you walk us through that much? Is it that much education, or is it more just, yeah, you guys do it, or not you guys, but the visitors do it, and you say, okay, here's how you do it, or?
Yeah, on an astronomer night, you basically own the telescope and me the whole night. So if that means we're just sitting in the learning center and I'm trying to explain to you how PixInsight works and how to do stacking and that sort of thing, fantastic. Me and the other presenters who do the astronomer nights, we're public speakers. We want to educate and to have you enjoy your time. So we're willing to push as much information as physically possible into your brain that you are willing to receive.
Interesting. So again, the prime question, how much?
So our astronomer nights are 1,500, and that's up to 4 people. Additional people, there's a separate inclusion, but I do not recall that number, unfortunately.
So that includes the whole first half of the night, the first 5 hours, and then it segues into the rest of the night?
Correct. So
Okay.
An astronomer night can include that public standard program where you would be with everybody else and dinner and sunset and everything. Or it can be right after the public program. That's when you decide to drive up if you don't want to deal with all the other people. But it includes the whole night and the public program if interested.
What a great way to wear yourself out.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm going to have a fun Friday coming up because we have a day tour, which is like an hour and a half, just walking around the site and seeing, okay, there's a telescope, there's a telescope. Then the public program, which is those 5 hours, and then an astronomer night right after that. So I think I'm going to sleep the entire weekend after that.
I would imagine so are the people who are going to be up there. Yes.
Yes. It can really, it really tells you how hard of an astronomer you are or how much of a observer you are. We've done astronomer nights where it's you have somebody who's like, okay, here is a 5-page list of objects and I want to see every single one, and we're going to go from sunset all the way to sunrise to I just don't want to deal with other people. I want to have the telescope and just you show me how to operate it and stuff. And after 3 hours, okay, the temperature dropped to, 15 degrees and I think we're done. Let's just get some sleep.
Yeah, been there.
Yeah. And we do have a warm room inside of the telescope dome. So even during our public programs, if you're inside the dome looking through the telescope and you start to become what I call TC, which stands for too cold to care, you can actually go into the warm room and warm up while still with the rest of the group so that you're not missing, say, Jupiter, which is visible right now during our public programs.
Okay, so wouldn't it be great to do a Messier marathon from there? Oh, man.
So funny you should mention that.
Oh, okay.
We actually do offer Messier marathons. We have one each year. I don't know if it is on our calendar yet, because obviously it's kind of end of March, April. But the last few years, excluding COVID, we have done Messier marathons. Now, obviously, with a 32-inch telescope, you can see these objects pretty much instantaneously, but it's still inside of a dome, so you can't get those very first objects and those very last objects. So the record as of right now is between me and another presenter, and it was I think we had 101 or 102 out of the 110.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
It is fantastic, and I would highly recommend coming to our Messier marathons, because there's that section in the middle where you're waiting for things to rise and you've already looked at everything that's set, and we're still up there and you've already paid to be here all night. So I don't know, let's just go look at some random planetary nebulas. Let's go just hunt around and see what we can find. I hear there's a supernova in NGC 3827 or something. And
now how is that structured?
which part?
The Messier Marathon, if you're having it, how is that structured for you all, for visitors, or is it a special, I have to reserve the whole night, 4 of us, or is this something where you have a group even bigger?
So we offer it as kind of a special program. We sometimes have special programs throughout the year. We're actually having one this coming Monday for the total lunar eclipse. That's kind of an overnight program. Valentine's Day is a little bit more special, so we do a little bit extra, and there's a fancier dinner, that kind of thing. The Messier Marathon, sorry, say again?
I was going to say, you look at the Heart Nebula.
Yeah. Well, we give everybody a rose and have them give them out, and then we look at the Ring Nebula and be like, huh? Sadly, Saturn isn't up for our Valentine's Day programs right now. Otherwise, that'd be great. But the Messier Marathon, it is an all-night program. It is more expensive than our standard Sky Night program, but it's not an astronomer night. It is open up to the capacity that we're able to hold. And depending on the size of the group that actually decides to join us, we'll have both telescopes in operation. You can walk back between them. We might have a telescope outside to try to get those really, really, really low objects. But it is an all night. We obviously have a dinner at the beginning with our standard Sky Night program. And in the morning, we offer a breakfast as well.
Oh, cool. Got a question here. Do you Zoom the Messier Marathon when you do it?
We have not. That is an interesting idea. I'd be curious how to get that working. I think Zoom generally limits you to like an hour and a half, and we might go a little bit over that. But we haven't done that in the past, and it might be a little challenging. We're a little frazzled by the end of the night of coordinating, 20 to 30 people or so looking through the telescope, object after object all night long.
I can imagine, yes. Cool.
So the last little thing that I wanted to talk about was our Sky School program, where we take groups of middle school or high school students up to the mountain. During the day, they get to do a bunch of cool geological or ecological stuff. And at night, they get to utilize the telescopes for both visual observing and sometimes even like a little project. We pride ourselves in basically getting these kids excited about science by actually doing science, not just here's the planets, but hey, let's have you guys, the kids, try to form a definition of what, say, planet designation is. What is a planet? What isn't a planet? That sort of thing. Or the same kind of thing, but for ecology or hydrology. And it's absolutely fantastic. And if you have any kids here in Tucson, or we have had groups from elsewhere, push your school district to utilize the Sky School, because your kids will come back nerdier than they left, which is always great.
I had a question about, say you're visiting up on the hill and you're wanting to do an astronomy night. Are you required to stay the whole night, or can you drive then off later? I know that the light security type of thing is an issue. How do you all deal with that?
So unlike Kitt Peak, where there's telescopes basically from the summit almost all the way down to the bottom, where every switchback can have your lights go directly into a telescope, our site kind of has a fence around it at the top, but after that fence, going down to Ski Valley and then the rest of the mountain, you have no way of pointing lights into our domes. And so for like astronomer nights, you'd be able to leave whenever you want. I am your lackey for the night. For the kind of overnight program, say like a meteor shower event or a total lunar eclipse or something like that, we would have staged timing so that we can keep everybody safe, keep everybody as a group, but have opportunities for people to leave if they wish.
By the way, how were the Orionids this year? Did you see a bunch from up there?
I did not, but I am also like the worst meteorite seer ever. Every time that I've gone out to see a meteor shower, I've seen like 3, and they weren't coming from, say, the Perseids. It was from somewhere completely different, going in a different direction. So I am a very biased person in that respect. The rule of thumb for our public programs is that if I'm looking over here in the sky, you will see one over there.
Yeah, that's kind of my experience this past weekend. We had the All Arizona Star Party hosted by our kind of our sister organization, the East Valley Astronomy Club. And so there were quite a few opportunities to see some Orionids late in the evening and others during the earlier part of the evening. But it was always someone to say, "Oh, wow, did you see it? Oh, wow, that was," and I'm always looking down at my telescope or something. So you can't have it both ways, I guess. And like you said, you're looking left. No, it was right. Yeah, that is just the way it works.
So that was my last slide. I know it's not a lot of slides, but I think we covered a whole bunch. So any other questions about the Sky Center in general, about any of our particular programs or anything like that, I'm more than happy to answer before you start doing your club duties.
Okay, those of us here in person, any
I
questions?
do have a question. On that Messier Marathon idea, doing Zoom, is it possible to do, say, on a weekday when you're not trying to shepherd a whole bunch of people? Do one just purely Zoom?
So if you wanted to do a Messier Marathon that was not our Messier Marathon program, I think the way to do that would be to say you want to do an astronomer night and you want to do it the day before the Messier Marathon.
No, I guess I'm asking to expand on the original idea of doing it Zoom. And then you're concerned about trying to shepherd all of the folks that you have and running Zoom.
Oh, I see. Yeah, there might be an opportunity for that. We would have to look into it. It would have to be something like one of our remote star party type thing, but it would have to go all night, which would be a lot of time behind a desk talking to a webcam.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that would be worth looking into. And I'll definitely bring that up to Vanessa and Alan, my boss.
That's what you get the intern to do.
Yeah. Well, then the intern doesn't know anything about, M102, and they're like, this is a nebula.
Well, David or Mike or Jack or Rick, you have any questions?
I don't really have a question, but I spotted a couple of typos in your presentation, Travis.
Oh,
if it helps, check out the spelling of programming on your first slide. And then right before the end, check out accommodations.
Thank you very much. I'm good with telescopes, not good with spelling. So that is very helpful. Thank you so much. I'll make sure to make those edits and have a better proofreader next time.
Well, Travis, thank you a bunch. And I presume that all of this information about fees and when and how to reserve and what your all schedule is going to be on your website.
Yes,
there.
Absolutely.
So yeah, for those of us who definitely love road trips, I was down with one of our other members here for the David H. Levy Star Party there at Oracle, which was close to Mount Lemmon. It was like, ooh, that would have been nice to go up and see Mount Lemmon, except for the fact that every stinking night it rained. So it was not a good weekend.
Yeah.
Or week,
Nope.
rather. It was a good
Don't
week.
try to plan your visit to the Sky Center during August. Just don't do it.
Are there
Yeah.
certain blackout dates or best times to come better than others? As far as
Best
crowd?
times, not really. There are blackout dates, and that's pretty much monsoon season. So kind of mid-July through August, sometimes into September. It's just so cloudy every single day. I think over the last 4 years, even when we had wait lists, we did 5 programs during those times. So definitely don't plan for that time. And we've been doing wait lists less and less because it's just so much more work and we can't accommodate anyone, unfortunately.
Oh, but you have a long lead time. So if I were to look at a 14-day forecast, trying to find a clear night, would it be longer than that? Like
So
reserve a spot?
yeah, so to reserve a spot, 2 weeks might give you enough leave time. So like if I checked our calendar right now for, say, the 13th, there are still 2 seats available. And then like Wednesday, the 16th, there are 8 spots available. So we fill up fast, especially the weekends. The weekdays don't fill up generally nearly as much. For some reason, Thursdays people really hate.
Then that's a good time.
Yes. And then obviously, if you want to see the moon during the program, schedule accordingly. If you don't want to have the moon in your sky so you can see all the other stuff better, also plan that out.
And then as the weeks go on, is there like a dropout when the people see a bad forecast in the far near future?
We always make the determination day of whether the weather is good enough. So like tonight we had a program, it's actually going on right now, while the last 2 days we didn't have any programs because it was snowing on top of Mount Lemmon. So pretty much day of, we call all of the guests, we send out an email and say we're good to go, or it's weathered out, unfortunately, and then we can either reschedule you completely for free or just give you a full refund. We're not taking people's money when the clouds are unkind.
Excellent, excellent. Any other questions?
Travis, how many people can you accommodate on a given night for a given program?
So for a standard Sky Night program, it's up to 28. We have 2 presenters and we use 2 14-passenger vans to move everyone around site because walking uphill in the dark at 9,000 feet is not fun. But 28 is our full maximum with 2 presenters. Every once in a while, and it'll be reflected on the ticketing system, it might be limited to 14, and that's when we only have 1 presenter who's able to do that night for whatever reason.
Any more questions? Excellent. Well, Travis, I do appreciate you presenting, and I really am tickled to hear that Mount Lemmon is up and running and has programs that we can participate in.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
put the URL in the
Yes.
chat if people
Yes,
can
I
see
see
that.
that. Yes. So yes, I'm sure that you are going to, you may not recognize some of us, but
You just have to show up with your name in big white text. That's how I'll know.
I will wear my Saguaro Astronomy Club T-shirt so that you don't forget. Yeah.
As we get into winter, you may not want to do that.
Well, I mean, it'll be under 14 other layers of stuff. It's
Gotcha.
bad enough I had 4 layers on this weekend when I was out. So yeah, it'd be like 15 degrees. It was only 50 when I was out, and Yeah, so, you know, you have to build up to it.
Yep.
We can
It's,
do that.
the mountain temperature is currently 33.
Not a problem. We can do that. Can't we? Yes, certainly we can. Okey doke. Well, I will release you unless you want to sit through the rest of our meeting. We are going to talk about nominations for the next board. And did Paul make it in? No, Paul Lynn, we're not going to have an ATM meeting report. Bummer.
Well, as riveting as that sounds, I think I'll leave you to your nominations.
Never know what you're going to be missing. And neither do we.
Might nominate you.
Yeah.
I-
You have any spare time?
Not really.
Oh, yeah, that's what all of our members say too. Okay, well, thanks again, Travis.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You betcha. Well, I was hoping, like I mentioned, that Paul Lind would be here and get an ATM report. But we don't have that. However, let me see if I can pull this up on my, can you all see the agenda out there in the netherworld? No? Okay.
Agenda.
Agenda. I'm gonna see, how do I do this? Let's go to share screen. Okay, now, how about now?
Bingo.
Okay,
Now,
just a few things on the agenda really for the rest of the evening. Election of board members, but before we get to that, we do have tomorrow night, the Monte Vista Elementary School STEM event. It's a grade school. I was there. David Dillmore and I were there a few years ago prior to COVID. And it's in the evening, Saturday evening. Okay, hang on a sec. Let me get this into. No, this is actually in, okay, there you go. It is 15221 South Ray Road. Get on Ray Road and you head back west, basically, and just wind around Ray Road and it'll take you to this address. You can show up at 4:45 to start setting up. The event starts at 6, goes to 9 p.m. We will, of course, be outside with telescopes. And we need to check in if you're going to be there to assist, go into what they call the multi-purpose room and check with Sharon that you are there. But otherwise, last time I was there, there were a couple people from ASU that had their telescopes. So we had about 4 scopes up. Had a good time. The kids were well behaved. There were a lot of parents, didn't have any issues. So let's see. I didn't put it on the agenda, but Ken,
Yes,
Alamo Lake,
yes.
have you heard any more about the outreach there?
The only thing that I've heard is, as you mentioned, Verde Valley Astronomy, you get in the gate, and you've got a spot up there that you can spend the night.
Okay, Saturday, November the 19th, they're at Alamo State Park. Verde Valley Astronomy Club, which evidently is now defunct, was hosting a outreach event for the park. And some of us are going to go up there and set our telescopes up. Nice dark skies up there for the most part. If you're not familiar with it, it's not hard to get to. You take the Wickenburg Road west towards Quartzsite, and you come into Winden, and then there's a turnoff there that takes you up over the mountain. Then you hit a dirt road up there. It's not bad. So if you, and as Ken mentioned, if you didn't hear him, if you mention that you're with the Verde Valley Astronomy Club, you get in free, get to spend the night there free camping if you want to.
It will be dry.
Yeah.
No electricity.
Yeah, dry camping, no electricity, but there are facilities there. So it's kind of like being at the antenna site, potties, and that's about it.
I'll get you.
Oh, they have showers? Wow.
ooh,
Yeah, I'm not gonna take a shower up there in the cold. I took one last week. Why do I need to take another one? Okey doke. Let's see. Any questions from the crowd? And if you're gonna go assist at the Kyrene Monte Vista Elementary School, please let me know. I'd like to see some people out there get a hand and show the kids. And then last but not least, election of board members. Do we have any volunteers for president or vice president or secretary or property manager? Hello?
Treasurer,
No, treasurer Jack has gleefully said that he's going to take the money and head to Mexico, I think, or it was something along that. I might have misinterpreted that, but he said that he would continue being treasurer for the club next year. So I can't because I can't be president because I've had my full 3 years, the 2 elected and the 1 drafted. So we do need some board members to run this thing. I have not set the bar high, people. Come on, you can do this. So we don't have a meeting in December, but we could if members want to email and say, well, let's have a meeting and discuss it, or let's have a meeting and let's just do something. That's fine. Otherwise, I have sent out emails with a list of the dates that potentially we could have for next year meetings, which are the second Tuesdays of each month. Now, I have also talked with EVAC, Claude over there, and he says he's asked the board. They have not finally decided yet whether it's going to be the 3rd Friday, but the 3rd Fridays are all Dark of the Moon Fridays. So that I'm not sure if they are going to want to change anything and how much of an accommodation we want to make for them. No, Friday.
Tom,
Yes,
EVAC will stay on their 3rd Friday, at least historically, that's where they've stayed, no matter whether it's a dark of the moon or not. And a little while ago, you said you were going to use the 2nd, but you said Tuesday. I think you meant
Okay.
Friday.
Yeah, I did mean Friday. Yeah, we're not going to go to a different day.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do Tuesday night. I don't care. I'm retired. They're all Saturdays for me as far as I'm concerned. There were some questions from some of the members wanting to maybe do other nights, but I'm not sure that the members as a whole would want to meet on a work night if most of y'all are still working stiffs, or Fridays are just better nights. So what do y'all think? Or what are y'all thinking? Or do you want to mull it over and get back to me? Again, we don't have much time until the end of the year. This is early November, so we can set stuff up for next year. But as I wrote in my president's message, if we don't have a president or vice president, I don't know how we can have meetings legally. I'm not sure if our bylaws allow that or whether we want to just meet as a group of people and not really have a structured meeting. We could talk, we could set up telescopes, we could do things that are different from what we're doing now. We wouldn't have any speakers unless somebody knows somebody who would want to come and be the speaker. We would or would not do Zoom. The club would have to buy a Zoom license for webinars and pay the monthly fee. So think about it, people. Next year comes pretty quick. So any other questions, any weeds, any seeds, any things you don't need? Any of the participants out there in Zoom have a question they want to throw out there?
Tom,
Yes.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Well, you have a head count for in person?
Oh, yes. For in person, we have 2, 4, 6, 8 of us. And we had at one time 21 on Zoom.
I had 24.
Oh, 23, 24. Okay. That wasn't the count. Okay.
8 in-house?
8 in-house. Yes.
Okay. One
Question.
more thing.
Yes,
Usually in December, we have a Christmas party. Is there any interest in that from the members? About a Christmas party at like either someone's house or at a restaurant, or in the past we've done that, so.
well, Lori and Mitch are in the process of selling their home, about to go on mission for their church. So I'm sure it will not be there this year. And I'm not sure I haven't heard from anybody that they've said yes or no to any type of get together, whether we want to go out for a meal get together, or like you say, at someone's home for something. If somebody wants to volunteer and do that, possibly even do a covered dish type of thing, or not, or just get together somehow. Yes, Ray.
You said Lori and, but they're gonna sell their house?
Yes, they're selling their house. They have been called to go on a mission with their church. So they will be leaving as soon as they get their orders. They don't know where they're going yet, but they're in the process of selling their house.
Okay.
They actually, I went over there the other day and picked up a whole bunch of stuff for the raffle during the Messier Marathon. I got a couple boxes of stuff from Lori that she had, some brand new eyepieces, 3 laser pointers, 3 planispheres, big planispheres, nice Messier Marathon planispheres. There's a small beginner's scope, you might call it. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff and only 1 book. Whereas most of the time we end up with 100 books and a few pieces of hardware. So, and some of the stuff I will probably bring next year to a meeting for members just to pick over, because a lot of it is bits and pieces, knobs and things that somebody might use that won't really be much raffle value.
Tom, I have a quick question for Jack, if he can answer it.
Yeah,
If he can tell us what our current paid membership is at this time.
we have 42, what? We have 46 paid members. Well, 42 paid members, 4 honorary members, actually.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
And yes, I would encourage those people who want the
Yes, and yes, dues are due.
pay your dues for next year's. I haven't paid mine, but I will. I promise I will before the end of the year. So any questions from the gang of 8 here? Any comments from or questions from the crew out in Zoom land?
I'm clear.
Okie doke. Well, hearing none, I'm going to gavel us out. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see most of you possibly on Zoom, possibly not, next year or out in the field somewhere in the dark. Might not recognize you there. It'll be dark. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Good night.